Today I'm gonna build a LEGO World War I trench battle where the British will be defending and the Germans will be attacking. To create this LEGO mock, I came up with a very detailed and professional plan. Let's find out if I can use that plan to create an actually good LEGO build. To make that possible, I've bought a bunch of new LEGO, not only bricks but also LEGO minifigures and weapons like this flamethrower or even these Vickers machine guns. Now, this build is gonna take place on these two LEGO base plates. Was that smooth? I feel like that was smooth. Where the British will defend one side and the Germans will attack from the other. Thankfully, there's a whole host of military LEGO mocks on the internet that can be used as inspiration for my build. And pulling all of that together, I present to you the plan. Can I turn this abomination into a professional LEGO history mock? Well, by the end of the video, I guess we'll find out. But wait, it actually gets better. Yes, that's right, I have annotated the plan. You can see we've got trenches, we've got potholes, we've got ruins, we've got a bunker, and even a train. It's an ambitious plan, but I think I've got what it takes. So let's get started. So here's our two base plates. British on this side and the Germans on this side. Now, last week I went down to London and visited the LEGO stores. There was a lot of cool things to see, but I had a flight to catch and believe it or not, none of these massive LEGO sets would fit in my bag. So I found a LEGO brick wall, filled up on black bricks, and said goodbye to the LEGO store. And here they are. Ah, Jesus Christ. And here they are. And here they are. Don't edit that in. Now, there's a reason why I've done this. Basically, if you look at some of the professional builders that, well, I'm not, they line the outside of their builds with LEGO bricks, so let's do that now. There we go, and we've got some spares left over. Now, obviously, that's not the height we're gonna build it, but it just allows me to know how much room I've actually got to build on. And then the borders on the outside help to just really define the area so you don't get these weird colors poking through on the side. I don't know, it just looks good. Now, I almost forgot about the timer. Even if it's not a timed build, it's always fun to keep track of the time. So let's start the timer, and let's just stick it over there. Now, you might think that this is enough LEGO for this build, but remember, this is just basically gonna be a mud field because it's a World War I build, so it's not. Hence why we have to buy this. I hope all of those names are scrubbed out, otherwise I've doxed myself. Let's crack it open and see what's inside. So let's see what we've got in box number 1. Basically, this is gonna be loads of trench building materials and stuff, so lots of dark greens, lots of browns, and as we get to the bigger boxes, you'll see there's even more LEGO. There's gonna be a ridiculous amount of LEGO. Ooh, there's even like flames and stuff in there. So before I chuck out the final box, let's just quickly see what we've got here so you'll see why some of this is so important. So look at this here. We've got like a bunch of stuff that we can use for barbed wire, hopefully some artillery. We've got flames. Now if I ever want to do like some carrots to get like a little like vegetable patch, I can do that. There's just loads of good stuff here, basically. Really, really useful stuff that can be used in loads of builds and will just help me moving forward. So let's move this stuff over to the side so we can see what's behind box number 3. So the biggest and the final of the 4 boxes. If you see me on the news anytime soon, it's probably because I've robbed the bank to cover my losses. Worth it. So the 4th and final box is just loads of, well, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, it's LEGO. Wow, who would have guessed it? What we're gonna do is we're first gonna template out where the trenches are even going to go before we do anything else. Let me just very quickly double check what I'm doing first. Okay, yeah, first things first was this trench here. Let's do that first. You can see the partition of the 2 base plates here, so it's quite close, but not all the way. Let's see if we can do it. Now, to provide a bit more context to the build, let's put all these soldiers down here because these soldiers, they actually need modified and they'll help show size and scale. Now, I've also got some like body parts and heads that we can actually swap in. These are from United Bricks, which as you know, cost an arm and a leg, in this case quite literally, but the helmets, they look so good. We've also got a British World War I, 2 French, but the most important thing that we've got here is we've got stacks of German World War I bodies. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna customize these German World War II soldiers, and I'm gonna make them into World War I soldiers. And there we go, we've got a pile of corpses, but we also now have an actual army of, oh, his helmet came off, an army of World War I German soldiers. Let's get these guys lined up on the wall, and they can just spectate the build, I guess. So hopefully this is where the magic starts to happen. If I do this, you'll see what I have planned. This is essentially what we're gonna use as the trench wall, if it will get in there. So if I put another one there and another one there, I can then place it there to line the trenches the whole way along. Now all we need to make that stay in place is literally just one of those connector pieces on one side. I can then slap that down over here, and you see, there we go, just like that. We've essentially got a trench wall. Now we need to elevate the rest of the ground to that degree, because we have to basically, that's the only way to actually get a trench, is to dig into the ground. What we're going to do is we shall use these to build up the terrain so that we can have potholes and trenches, because the grey bricks, well, we don't really need many of them. But first, let's just build a couple more of these, just so we can place one here and one here, just so we know how deep we need to go. Almost 2 hours into this, and it's just a mess, and I'm still working on the most fundamental component. At least nobody can say that I copy, or I cheat, or I just remake other people's builds, because if I did, I would not struggle like this. I would not put myself through this. Unless, of course, you weirdos just like watching me suffer. Okay, so here's what I've done. This is like, you see this little mechanism? I have literally just created that out of thin air. I don't know how you're supposed to do this. I imagine it's not like this, but the whole thing is literally just like suspended in the air. So it's gonna be very temperamental. This is one of the most illegal building techniques I think I've ever seen. Okay, you probably won't believe me when I say this, but I've now been working on this for 4 hours. That was 8, 4 hours. What have I achieved in that time? Well, yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That is literally it. That is all I've actually managed to do. It took me so long. It took me so incredibly long. But let's pull the master plan over here. It kind of looks like this. It's not awful, but the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to elevate the rest of the ground and then start making it round so that it looks like I've done something. Okay, there we go. Basically, what this is going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to easily build up to the height of the trench, but also if there's a pothole, we can kind of build that into the terrain now. So it's now 10 o'clock at night. Yep, my camera's used all their spare batteries, and I just decided to keep working anyway because I kind of need to get this done. Do let me know if it's obvious that I am losing the will to live. So basically the main thing that I've done here is I've got the trenches pretty much actually complete. To be honest, I think they're relatively good, although this piece is hanging over the side, which I've just spotted. The front side of it, again, you'll see that's just ready for things to be placed down. And then I've just started working on like putting the potholes down. Now, as much as I actually think it's a relatively nice build so far, and I think I can do some really good stuff with it, I don't think it's good enough for 7.5 hours. But now that things are somewhat recharged, and my desk is very tidy. Well, let me show you the floor. I probably shouldn't show you the floor then, if you thought the desk was bad. Oh no, oh no, also slippers reveal. I suppose we better get back to it. I wonder how long this is going to take me into the night. Now, I'm also trying, for the first time actually, to really incorporate these kind of like corner pieces and stuff, because I've never properly used them before. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the big potholes. So you see these ones only like start from 2 bricks down. These potholes are like the deepest potholes. Now, I've never actually built potholes before, so this really is actually genuinely a first for me. Okay, so it's now 11:30. Turns out I've made an incredible revelation. You see these triangle pieces, right? You see these triangle pieces? Turns out, if you put 2 triangles together, They do in fact make a square. That's big news. As for the build, let's give you an update. I'm happy to say that after 8.5 hours, the build is beginning to take a little bit of shape. Not quite as much as I'd like, but you know, we're looking for positives here. Now, obviously, we've got a lot more to do. We've got to get a bunker here. We've got to get some ruins over here. We're also going to get the barbed wire along there. There's supposed to be a train track down here, some telephone wires. First thing that I want to do though, really, is I just want to finish off the mud layer over the whole thing. And again, putting these 2 triangular pieces, this is actually saving my life right now, I swear. Like, look at this. Look at this. I would actually legitimately not have actually had enough pieces, even with all the bits that I bought, to do this, because yeah, it's just it's pain and misery. But let's crack on. Looking at the above camera, actually, this honestly and even the other camera, this actually does look like this could be good. Oh my god. That marks 10.5 hours. It is 1:15 in the morning, but I think we're starting to make some that should actually be the catchphrase of this video, I swear. But like, genuinely though, like, we've got all the potholes and the craters and pretty much all of the land down. This is where things will really begin to happen as we start to put the detailing on in the main features. Okay, so I believe we are now ready for the pickup test at long last. But before we do it, let's put all of the guys, just so it looks a little bit more interesting, let's put all these guys on and see if they actually stay on. And also, I guess this will help us get an idea of like how much space we're really working with here. Now, the moment of truth. You know, it makes that noise. Oh, you didn't see that. Okay, pickup test. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. I would honestly say so far we are legitimately on track. It's coming together. It really is. In the interest of getting something World War I related on this build, let's build the Vickers machine guns and the flamethrower. Subscribe to this channel or I will find you. Right, moving on from that very direct threat, which I actually mean. So, 2 Vickers machine guns, 1 flamethrower. Let's pour them out into these like really nice little, like, these are just really, really convenient. These little potholes, man. And then we'll do one at a time just so I don't get confused. This seems like this is going to require some actual effort here. Oh, bro, come on. Oh, okay, hold on. I think I figured a bit out. There you go. It's a wee tripod. Tell you what, not too shabby so far. That is actually really, really, really nice. And I've got 2 of those. What I can do is I could probably stick it directly into there. Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect, because a bipod would have been too big. And that is like a proper Vickers machine gun position right there. Let me show you what I've done here, okay? Don't tell me that doesn't look sick. Now, if I actually zoom out here, you'll see that we've got 2 of them. We've got this guy down here who's pointing to the left. He's going to be shooting this direction. And then the guy who's on the far right-hand side, that's the left-hand side, is going to be shooting the other direction so that we get a crossfire down the center. Full-on World War I tactics. This looks good. Let's get the flamethrower. There we go. I'm not gonna lie, this guy does look absolutely, he looks really good. We'll get him like charging down the middle basically. So I'm back, re-energized and ready to go. Let's recap where we got to. Now you will see a few things have changed after the cameras all died. So, let's show you what I've done. But before we do anything else, let's just remind ourselves how much time this took. So what has changed? You will notice along here we have some sandbags. We've also got 2 Vickers machine guns and also a nice wall of barbed wire. Now currently the Germans are running into this with no weapons except from that flamethrower. They will be getting given weapons, but what else is going to change? Well, on this side over here we're going to create a bunker. This is going to be ammunition storage. We're going to have a train track coming in here to resupply the men. Over on the right hand side we're going to get ruins. We're going to have some detailing and ammunition. So that's a lot of things that we're going to be working on. Let's get straight to it because I've already wasted enough time and frankly, I'm beginning to hate this mock. So let's just get rid of those Frenchmen. So what we're looking at here, this is going to be the template for where the actual bunker is going to go. It's going to sit somewhere around there, but before we do that, I've got to do a bit more detailing down here. We don't want this entire thing to be brown. No man's land trenches make sense, but behind the trench line, we're going to have a little bit of greenery. I know, crazy, right? So I have prepared this box, and I have also prepared this one here. Now, I probably want to start using this dark green more than I do this, because this just looks a lot too green. Okay, I've also actually just done some actual preparation. It's my template for what I think the train should look like. It's not perfect, but should help. So what we can do with this is we can place this here just to get an idea of where the train tracks will actually be coming in, so that we know where we don't need to put our green bricks. Now, it might actually be better coming in at like that angle there. And that's not going to be exactly what I use. And also you'll see there are actually, in fact, two options here. I'm not sure which I go for. This feels like that might be too big, but that's got studs on it. So what we can now do is I can probably dig up some of these parts, because we don't want this to be extruding from the ground too far. But you know what? You know what? Screw it. I said we weren't going to faff around, and we're not going to faff around. In you go. Get in there. Right, let's get this done. Okay, so I think for now we can put the greens away. So let's actually create the bunker. Now I've got some nice like circular bits picked out for this. I'm not sure how good it's gonna look, but we're gonna give it a try. And there we go, some actual legitimate progress. Now, it's definitely far from perfect, but I think it's just gonna have to do for now. It's got a decent amount of detail. I don't have the rounded pieces on the top. I also don't have the like round plates to actually finish off that section there. So there's definitely quite a few more bits that I would like to do. I think it does the job well enough, kind of overlooking this battlefield as the Germans approach. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to very quickly try and finish off this train track, and then we're going to run over here where I might just decide to scrap the ruins because this is taking too long. I said that last time, so I don't know. We'll see. Either way, it does appear as if some progress has been made. Okay, I'm gonna try and create like a stopper for the end of the track, which would make it look like it makes a bit more sense actually being there, essentially. Okay, you know what? That'll do for now. Let's just put a little bit of this around it, so it doesn't just go from like rail to just dirt, basically. Kind of works. It looks like exposed floor with then some like, you know, rocks and then some planks. I don't know. It's gonna do for now. Well, I was supposed to build some ruins down here. It just gives them like something to like utilize and cover behind. It could be like an interesting like element in the actual build itself. And it'll be like almost like reminiscent of what once was like a tiled area, like a nicely well-kept area, and is now just a ruin. Okay, that actually looks okay, but I think we need to make the ruins a wee bit taller so that they're more obviously ruins, because it just kind of looks like a big pile of rubble rather than ruins at the minute. There you go. I'd say that's not awful, and it didn't take an extraordinary amount of time either. So let's just quickly recap what we've done today and what we've got left. I mean, it's also worth taking a quick note of the time, but as we zoom out over here, you'll see today we have added in this bunker, we've added in that railway, and then way on the other side, we've also added in these ruins down here. The build is slowly but surely beginning to come together. Next up, we're going to add in telephone poles, and we're going to give a shot at some trees, which I've never done before, so wish me luck. Now, you might agree with me that this landscape looks a little bit too boring and uninteresting, so what we're going to try and do is I'm going to try and create some Lego trees, as well as possibly a telephone pole, which is why I have these two fine boxes here. Now, let's start with a tree. Now, we need somewhere to put this tree, and that looks like a good spot over there. So let's just dig up all the work that I'd already done. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, that looked like that might be a bit too thick. We don't want our trees to be chungus level size, so let's go with that. What I'm doing is I'm trying to create the roots here, and that's what I'm aiming for. But as ever, everything is way harder than you first think it would be in your head. Ooh! Ooh, you know what? I mean, it's not going to be like an insane tree. Call that a W, and I'm going to leave that there. Let's move on to the second tree. Honestly, I don't want any of them to be too big. Like, if they're too big, then it just like, you then have to add more onto it, and it just becomes like, and I just don't have the parts. So I'm going to keep them pretty simple to begin with, I think. Okay, I would say that is a successful second dead tree. They've not got the most incredible amount of detail in them, but I think it does the job. They're kind of like, basically, they're just kind of like blowing up trees where they've had the branches smashed off them by artillery rounds. What I might do is I might create a couple of stumps over the place just to create a little bit more depth on the battlefield, so it's not just one empty, yeah, because at the minute it just looks a bit too dead for my liking. So there's one. That's quite easy to replicate, actually. I could do a few of those. In fact, I might do a good few. And there we go. Now this like kind of no man's land area with the ruins in the corner, and then also the craters and the multiple, like what's 4 dead stumps and then 2 dead trees. There's a little bit going on here, you know. It's starting to actually get quite well populated. It's no longer just completely soul-wrenchingly boring, which is always good. Previously, these guys would essentially just be running down here, just down a big open field, but now they're going to be running towards a bunker, loads of machine gun nests, and guys on multiple levels where they've also got munitions and trains at the back. There's ruins in the corner they can hide in, there's craters they can hide in, they've got a Flammenwerfer, well, I guess there's a flamethrower at the front. I'm not sure, was a Flammenwerfer in World War I? I think it was World War II. And then they've also got like a bunch of these like stumps and trees that they're now going to be able to actually shelter behind and take cover so they don't just get gunned down. Now, with that being said, the next thing that I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and create a couple of telephone poles. I know, exciting stuff, I know. Try to contain your excitement. So the idea is that maybe that's too tall, maybe one less there. Well, there isn't really much of an idea. It's just to make it look a little bit more interesting, I guess. Okay, then we'll put the other telephone mast over there, or telephone pole rather. Now let's see if we can actually get something on top of those. If I can cobble something together in my mind, this will be incredible. Let's just have a quick test. Okay, so you know what, the wider one might actually be better. Okay, there we go. Now, do I have anything, and I haven't planned this bit out, do I have anything to actually connect these 2 telephone poles, or to make them look like damaged or destroyed or something? I don't know. I just feel like the battlefield was the reason why I put the trees down and now these is because it just looked a bit too empty. I don't want to use the chain because that looks too distinctly like barbed wire, but what if this is going to require some imagination? This is going to require suspense of disbelief. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I don't know. You see, my concern with what I've done there is it looks too much like a telephone mast. Now, you'll be able to tell me on the recording whether or not you think that's completely cringe. It's possible that it is. Also, I just realized I've lost the other camera. Look how dark this is. Okay, we can revisit the telephone poles later on. Now, 15.5 hours into the build, I think it's time for yet another pickup test. I mean, this is genuinely beginning to look a little bit like a World War I mock. It only took 15.5 hours, literally like more than a whole day. Now I'm gonna start putting on the detailing, and that's when you're gonna start seeing things begin to take shape. Also, if I did drop this now, I think yeah, not a good time. First on the hit list, we're gonna start putting down some of the boxes and stuff. So essentially, this will be like the bits and bobs that be lying around, like storage in particular, that sort of stuff. And we'll also just get some like wheels and stuff dotted around, just stuff that would just be kind of like literally just like lying around. You know, for example, ammunition storage, this sort of stuff. I've got this over here as well. I'm wondering if we could use these to help give a little bit of definition to the trenches themselves, as opposed to just solely looking like the mud around it. Incredibly, remember these baguettes that I actually got for the French in the last video? At long last, I think I'm actually finding a home for them. I honestly didn't think I was ever going to get any use out of these, but I think I might actually now. I'm just sticking the baguettes in the trenches. Okay, honestly, placing those bits down in there, I don't feel like that actually resolved too much. It looks a little bit less completely uniform than it did when we first started, but still got some way to go. Ooh, another baguette. Let's get that one over there. Okay, I would say that's reasonably good for these, but don't worry, we've got more. What I have here is I've got some little bits and bobs. I'm gonna just make some actual like artillery shells. I know we don't even have artillery. Let's just pour them into one of the craters as per usual, and we can make some homemade artillery. Now, I think that's how you do it, and then what you do is you just basically drop it in there so it looks like there's like artillery casings. And then later on, you see all these little other things that don't have baguettes in them. We can actually put like pistols, sorry, not pistols, like rifles and all that kind of stuff in those as well. Now we've also got some, well, even more barbed wire. I'm not really sure what to do with this stuff though. What I was thinking we could potentially do with this barbed wire is just like use it to like line the fronts of some of these like trenches, kind of like this, so it's just like almost like another layer of barbed wire, so you go over multiple levels of barbed wire before you can actually get to anyone. Yeah, why not? Why not? You know what? Why not? Let's do it. Okay, so that's the additional barbed wire down. I've got to say that this is actually starting to look incredibly well populated. There's a lot going on. And we're actually about to hit one of the most important parts, which is where things will begin to take shape, because we're now going to start doing some of the terrain detailing. To do this, I'm first actually going to remove all of the German dudes as well, so I can just do this much more easily without having to build around them. Okay, I think this is where things are going to start to get quite interesting actually, because we're going to start putting down some of the vegetation, and in particular, you'll notice what I've done here. I'm only putting down red flowers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find like an area where I'm going to put them all, so it looks like a little poppy field, and also a much needed splash of color on this side of the map because it's bleak. I think this is a nice little addition actually, but then I would say that, seeing as I've made it. Now there is some like pretty desolate kind of shrubbery that we can dot around. I think it'll just make things look a little bit more real, or interesting maybe is a better word for it. Okay, so that's a lot of that shrubbery. Now what we are going to do, I'm going to populate this top section here because this is supposed to be like the grass that's not on the front line. It's not necessarily being destroyed. Okay, so I think that's actually it for most of that stuff, because even though I've got all of this, I don't want to overdo it. I want to keep it to mostly grass. So remember that plan that we made at the start of the video, which for me was days ago and 17 hours of building, but let's just drag it in. Epic plan with epic annotation. I think we've actually smashed that. I'm not gonna lie, we smashed it. We've got the trench. I'm really happy. But we're not done yet because we need to get the minifigures in and all of their guns. Alright, time to get serious. Right, so first things first, right? Let's populate some of these like buckets and stuff with guns. In fact, you know what? Because there's so much black on there, sorry, brown on there, let's put black in. I think it would just contrast better. And there we go. Almost 18 hours into the build. I am stopping the time because we are done. Let me take you on a tour of the Germans and the British, and also let's not forget the French and their baguettes. Starting off with the British team, we've got this guy here on the machine gun. The guy next to him is climbing up to the sandbags so that he can use his trench gun on the approaching Germans, whereas this guy appears to already be suffering from PTSD. We've got a couple of reinforcements getting to the line, another machine gunner with a guy behind him actually trying to get ammunition for his machine gun so he can continue firing on them, especially important considering the guy with the flamethrower is almost through the trench, and also this guy with the MP18 is sneaking around the side. On the inside, we've got even more reinforcements, and then we've got a couple more British guys around here, one trying to shoot over the edge and the other one is moving in to try and reinforce. Now the French are in the bunker at the back. I didn't make the bunker very deep, and so they're having to duck down. It's not exactly the Maginot Line, let's be honest, but they are definitely both in there. And then also we've got one Canadian guy next to the French baguette who's going to try and reinforce them. So each one of the British soldiers on this side of the map has got their own story, and the same can be said for the Germans on the other side. This guy here is trying to run in, throw a tatty masher in. This guy over here, you were saying I should get some faces. Well, look at his face. He has been injured, he is in a crater, and then his friend over here is about to put him out his misery by either shooting or sticking him with a bayonet. This lad over here is actually using the tree for cover. You can see he's kind of like poking out behind it. Of course, we've got one of the guys who's got the MP18 who's just charging down the middle. He's already there. The other guy, like I said, who's got the MP18 is almost round the side. The flamethrower there once again. This guy in a crater, in safety, trying to launch a grenade right down into this British trench. And then we've got two more soldiers trying to run in, plus this just dude right at the back who's kind of just chilling, to be perfectly honest. When you get up close and personal, you can really tell that, you know, whilst I got off to a slow start, there is a reason why this build took me that amount of time. I really did put quite a lot of time, effort, and consideration into trying to make sure this wasn't just like completely unpopulated. There was a bit of depth to it. Also, learning as we go. New things I've learned how to do is, well, how not to build a trench. Also, how to build craters. That's the first time I've ever built trees. We, of course, have our poppy field. First time I've done ruins, not particularly happy with them, and certainly not happy with these telephone poles. The bunker's alright, but I'm missing a lot of components to make that really, really good. But this is where it gets interesting. Let's try and pick it up. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna go hard mode and I'm gonna try and pick. Oh, okay. Right, well, right. Please do not break. If anything falls or breaks now. Honestly. Ladies and gentlemen, it actually is a LEGO World War I mock, and one that I'm not even embarrassed to say that I built. I think I've got like building potential. I just need to get faster. Now, if you enjoyed that, make sure you subscribe. I've got a LEGO World War II tank video coming right around the corner, and you don't want to miss it. Hopefully it won't take as long as this, but it will be good. Bye!